Good morning, folks. It is. It's a little after 4:30. I'll be doggone. I'm up just a little bit late. Thought I was getting up before 4 for a minute there. Went to bed early. Took a nap yesterday. Slept pretty good. Really would like to sleep a little bit more, but I threw myself off by sleeping so much during the day this week. Gee, it's Wednesday morning and I slept during the day, Monday and Tuesday, both days. Wow. Um, I had a great inspiration during my sleep the night before last. We should be working on flexibility of thinking, and I find myself realizing that I need to take my own advice. Then I realize how dumb I am too. I realize how much there is that I haven't explored and thought about. Like about these worlds of consciousness that live, that appear to be existing just beyond our own. Like what happens during sleep. Why is it that quite often we go through bad dreams? Why is it that we have sometimes horrible, chaotic kinds of dreams and then we bust through to something that's more alive than life itself, than our daily life, than our conscious awake life? Why is it that some dreams are so much more real than life, so much more vivid? It makes you wonder about a hierarchy of consciousness, about different universes of thought, universes of being. And one of those that I heard about a while back was we have to go through a very chaotic level before we can get into a higher level. And so a lot of us enter into sleep and go through some stuff that's not very pleasant, pretty ugly, in order to get through to the other side. And I can't help but wonder about that level. Does that impact this life so much? Is that part of what holds us back? Is that part of the psychological prison set? Is that part of what we as a species need to overcome to pull ourselves up a bit higher? I don't rightfully know. I mean, those are questions I can ask. That's about all I can do with them is ask. A lot of you think that I'm pretty intelligent. I'm pretty smart. I know a lot. And the thing is that I've hung out with some really smart people, with some really intelligent people, and they were so far ahead of me, I could barely hold a conversation with them. I remember a boy and a girl in high school. Now, don't get me wrong, they were oddballs for sure. They were not normal at all. And they would talk about the German philosophers all the time. They had already read it all. Senior year in high school, they hung out together. They were kind of like the odd couple. They were both too brainy for their own good. They couldn't communicate very well with the rest of us. They certainly did not have patience. They didn't have patience enough to explain things to me. I probably could have understood them if they'd actually reached down a little bit and maybe lifted me up a little bit, explained things to me just a little bit. But they didn't have time for that. They didn't have patience for that. They were that much better. We were all officers' children. They were on the same school bus. We went across town together. Actually, but we didn't hang out very much. The two of them always hung out. She always seemed kind of a stick in the mud, full of herself, and he was super bright. They were both weird. They didn't have gentle acceptance. Their social skills were strange. They were weird. Reminds me of when my supervisor wrote me up and said, supervisor 2 levels above me said I lacked social skills. Well, what it meant basically is I wasn't a Democrat diehard like they were, and I wasn't going along with the bullshit they were going on, which was they pretended to go to work. They might work until noon and then go home, and that was it. They patted the clock the rest of the time. Yeah, it was that bad. Quite often, they went to work for just a few hours and then went home. And the real drag of it was that I was stuck there covering for them, doing their work. And sometimes I get called and be asked, "Will you do this?" The facility's healthcare administrator would ask me to stay over to take care of things past my 10-year. Was it 10? I worked for 10 years, 10 hours straight. Past my shift, they wanted me to stay, and they didn't want me to ask for overtime. And they wouldn't give you overtime. They give you time off at other times, and they get miffed because you wouldn't give them. You weren't their slave. Everybody else had gone home. I was the only one there. They had left hours ago, and it was okay for them to leave because they voted Democrat. Seriously, it was that bad. So, if you're a member of the party, the Communist Party, the corrupt party, the Democrat, Demon Rat Party, then you can get away with whatever you want. You covered for each other. It was just the unwritten law. I remember it was like when a friend of mine's son, who was so mixed, and he looked pretty dark, but people wouldn't realize his dad was about as white as you could get. And a smart kid pull up and say, "Hook me up." Didn't realize that that was code for steal something for me and give it to me for nothing. Steal something from the man, steal something from the corporation. Happened at McDonald's, I guess. Yeah, take something from McDonald's. Don't charge me for it. Just hand me something. Hook me up, man. One of the lessons I've learned is that nothing's free. And one of the biggest sucker punches out there, one of the biggest sucker shots is it's free, and the next thing you know, you're signing up and you're giving a credit card number, and you can't quit them no matter what, no matter how you try to not continue on with something. So it's not free. And I got to the point where those things would go haywire so badly. They were liars and thieves. And of course, there I was trying to get something for free anyway. You realize that the average con artist, that's the hook that they have. Well, you tried to take advantage. You tried to get something for free. So it's okay for me to take advantage of you. So it's okay for me to rob you because you thought you were going to take advantage of me because I put out that little bait for you. They will do that for you all over the place. And what I decided once I got to the point where I was making some real money and I didn't have time to waste anymore, I wasn't going to accept free stuff. I mean, if you weren't going to sell it to me for an honest and fair price, I don't want it. And I still like to adhere to that. Sure, I hear that siren's call of, you don't have to pay for it, it's free. I've heard that. I still hear that today. Come in and get your whatever it is. And, the next thing you know, it's like, well, you got to give us your credit card. Pay shipping only. And then they don't tell you that you've actually committed to a contract. I would love to see truth in advertising. Maybe there should be a license to advertise. Small fee. And if you lie in your advertising, they yank your license so you can't con people anymore. Corporations have done that all the time. It's just the way they do business. And the excuse is they're faceless. You can't go after one person and identify them and target them. Same with a lot of businesses. They're faceless, and their employees will do whatever the hell they want to you, whatever damage they want to you, and you can't do anything to them because they're working for a company. A fellow was working on my motorhome, and I swear he jammed my steps up, destroyed them on purpose in front of me. His business is an irresponsible business. They won't take responsibility for the damages that their people do. Likewise, they ordered the wrong part up for me. What happened was that fellow did not read the correct number off the part, and they got the wrong hydraulic ram jack in for my rig. And when I went back in to get the work done, and I had waited months to get this work done, I had to pay for the guy's time again because he had made a mistake. So it was a half-hour job to take the hydraulic jack off my motorhome. That's what it took. And I got billed for 2 hours when I first went there and he took it off. And then I got billed again for his mistake because, I showed up, yeah, and he looked at my rig to work on it, yeah, and he had ordered the wrong part that wouldn't fit. And they never did get the right part for me. Not only that, but they took the parts off my rig and wouldn't give me back all the parts, and they give me a bunch of grief about it. We spent all this time trying to order parts up. You owe us this money. And they made me put a deposit on it. It was the first time ever. I will be going into the business asking them for the attachments to put the ram jack back on the motorhome frame one more time, and then I'll begin the Better Business Bureau process on them. I'm fed up with people that have taken so much money from me on so many occasions and have not treated me very well. And we're going to be going to court most likely. I hate it. I don't want to do it, but if I don't do it, they've run over me for thousands of dollars because the guy destroyed the steps. I got to replace the steps, and they never finished the hydraulics on my motorhome. And the young fellow who come over here, well, he's young to me, okay, he's still in the middle age, right? He nice guy, and he's got a good reputation, and he must have sat on his ass for 2 hours. We tried to figure things out. I didn't have all my parts returned to me, so he couldn't do the job. And so I've run the bill up with him. I liked him, I liked him, and he started the job. He was referred by the local people. I heard he really knows his stuff afterwards because I told him, look, I really want to give him the job because my other choice is to go to the factory and have the factory get the right parts out for me. But I'm going to do the extra stuff to make sure to give this guy the work because he drove across town and sat on his ass here for at least an hour, maybe 2. And I am, I've had enough problems with black gentlemen, you want to call them African American, hyphenated Americans, that I don't willingly enter into business with them. But I'm having enough trouble with the whites too. And I'll tell you this, more than half of my purchases, half of the repairs I try to do go haywire. That's, to me, is a sign of the deterioration of our nation. By the way, this guy's a really nice guy. He's a soft-spoken, well-intended fellow. I think it's his business or he's part of it. Doesn't really matter. I like him. I started working with him. I'm going to stick with him. I don't care. He's more honest than the guys over at RV Renovators. And the white assholes over there that don't care about other people. They really don't care. They run the bill up and run the bill up. They will repair something and it won't be repaired. And they'll tell you, well, you got to make another appointment and come back and you're going to be paying them more money because that's just the way they do things there. Like when they repaired the toilet for $300 and I had to go back and spend $600 more because they didn't repair it. Or when they repaired, one time they wanted $1,000 to replace the mirror on the right side of my motorhome. They wanted $700 and something for the part, and the rest was labor. And that was one of the first ones I went to them for back when I was pretty naive. I had an acquaintance, the guy who washed and waxed my motorhome, said that's not right. He gave me the name of a glass cutting place in Apache Junction, and I'll be damned. It took me quite a while to figure out how to do it on my own, how physically to do the mirror job. but I spent a whopping $36. And I have a better replacement. It's the original housing. It matches, and I've still got the electrical and the motor adjustment that's functioning, and the electrical heating to the mirror defogging that's still functional too. And I did that by spending $30 on getting the mirror cut, and about another $4 on $5, maybe $7 on aluminum heating tape to tape the element on the back of the mirror. And I had to ask 2 neighbors to help me because I had to get up on a ladder, not very high, and I had to have 2 other sets of hands to keep everything straight so that I could put this puzzle back together again. So one set of hands was helping me by holding the mirror housing and its parts, because they had to be taken apart with everything together. Kind of the wires had to go through each other. I can't even remember. It was one of those things that I could do physically there and I could think of. And I figured it out in my brain somehow. And so I did it. And I got it fixed for like $36. Now it took me some time. And it took me, I had to have the help of my neighbors for a couple hours. Well worth it though. But, it just is something when people who are supposed to be professionals can't think that far, don't think that far, but they think far enough that they want to get into your pocket for $1,000 on something like that. So I try to think it all the way through, because those guys will run your bill up no matter what. They don't mind. And at $160, $165 an hour for labor now, wow. And they don't do that good at work. I'd rather go to Indiana. The work is slightly cheaper and they do it right. Anyway, it's enough to make me want to give up motorhome life. I'd love to get a diesel pusher, but I know that would be more enslavement, because there's a lot more in the rig. Be more systems to learn, more things to break, more things to wear out. And I like my little rig. It's actually fun on the road, and it goes into a lot of places the big rigs just won't go and can't go. Okay. America's in terrible trouble. I wake up, Google's got to suggest, or YouTube's got to suggest a particular video for me. It's on CPAP. It's on, whatever it is for the Republicans, and these people are talking as people are walking into CPAP. Look, I'm fed up with CPAP. I'm fed up with all these leeches. That's just what they are. And Mike Pence, they're saying, is at 0% on the polls. They were joking about that in the beginning of it, talking like they were a couple of football announcers. And it's a game. Boy, are they right. Is it ever a game? I think Mike Pence has got to be one of the most hated people in the nation. Probably right after Mitch McConnell. Probably right after the former Speaker of the House, who was a Republican. They all did their best to harm Trump. And by doing that, they harmed America. They harmed the American people. They are traitorous, treasonous, rat bastards. Mitch McConnell's in the hospital. I can't imagine how many people hope he won't come out of it. Hoping he'll pass away there. I'm tired of him. I think at one time I heard that one of his ships, a ship he controlled or maybe owned, was found to have 90 kilos of heroin on it. Now, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not going to go chasing it down. It's not that important to me. I think anybody up at that level of government is corrupt as hell. I think most of those people in D.C. are involved in the drug business, human trafficking business. They're definitely involved in lucre, trading, they're definitely involved in taking bribes. If you want to get their attention, you have to donate to their campaign. It's become so corrupted. It was highly corruptible, and now it's corrupt. I don't think you can uncorrupt it. Can you? Certainly, I don't even know if Yahweh can uncorrupt it. I think it's beyond God's ability to uncorrupt and straighten up this nation at this point. I think you have a bunch of Satan worshipers in Washington, D.C. They belong to secret societies that have their own deities and all that other stuff set up, and their own traditions, their own secret stuff. So secret they can kill presidents and get away with it. No, folks, there has to be an end of secrecy on some things. And I don't know if Trump makes it this next time or not. People are saying, well, they're tired of Trump. They want DeSantis. Look, I don't like DeSantis much either. What do they have in common? They're both Israel firsters. They're not America firsters. Or if they are America first, it means first we take down America, then we get the rest of the world. And the rest of the world knows more about what is going on in our country than we do. That news media is not news. It's just nothing but propaganda. Bunch of liars, professional liars. God, I'd love to be president. I would yank the licenses to broadcast on the big boys, big girls, whatever you want to call them. I'd yank their licenses. I wouldn't allow them to broadcast anymore. And I'd just say straight up, hey, you've lied too much. Maybe we should make lying a crime. Maybe that would take care of things. If you lie in your advertisement, mislead people, that should be a crime perhaps. If you're a judge and you lie about the admissibility or why you didn't admit evidence or your directions to the jury, or telling the jury to ignore some of the obvious evidence, maybe that should be a crime. If you're a police officer and you lie in your report because you don't like this son of a bitch and you don't want them getting away, you want to put them in prison, or you know they're a criminal and they've done something else wrong, but you're going to lie to get them trapped up, shouldn't that be a crime? If you're a woman and you're going to lie about your boyfriend, your husband, your date, shouldn't that be a crime? Well, the common thing we have is we're a bunch of liars. And of course, if we're a bunch of liars, it just follows that we're thieves too. So we've become the people of the lie. Peck wrote a book called The People of the Lie. He just began to tap upon the phenomena of evil among us. Now, is that lying? Is that evil inherent in the human species? I don't think so. But yet, we have our great religions telling us that that's just the way it is. That's just the natural way, condemning you from the start. Now, I don't mind admitting that babies and children are self-centered. I mean, and they are. That's what they think of, was themselves. It's the natural thing. Yeah. And then we slowly get them so they can think about others. And we help them so they get along better and do better in life. At this point, the devil and the devil's children have so taken over and so taken down America that I think they're part of our fabric. And you can't get rid of these parasites, these predators, the politicians in particular. My God, I would like to get rid of them. We could do it if we went back to the original structure the founders gave us, because occasionally then a statesman would rise up, would show himself or herself among us, and would recognize them for their greatness and give them the seat, give them the authority, and we would all benefit from it. But as it stands, we got a bunch of leeches, a bunch of parasites. They aren't going to do any good for any of us. Above all, we need to get rid of that 17th Amendment for the direct election of senators. That needs to happen first and foremost, so you can begin to get a handle on your government. The state governments need to be represented, but the problem is that these state governments are all incorporations. They're not a single organic, proper state government among the 50. Not one. So maybe it needs to start at the state levels. That's what a woman who ran for Congress figured out. She's got something to her idea there. Or maybe we should start with the money system, ruling this fiat money illegal, grabbing up these bankers that have stolen America from the rest of us. Come on, don't kid yourselves. They have bought off the country. They have created the criminal class. They've created this weird society where you have politicians that get away with murder, and they do get away with murder. They are not held accountable. They are above and beyond the law. And I can't stand how the shit floats to the top. And look at the people that we have in office. Look at Bill Barr, who covered up the murder of Jeffrey Epstein, that fine, upstanding citizen. He covered up that murder. He proactively covered that up. Shouldn't that be a crime? Should he not be charged with the cover-up of the murder of that fine, upstanding citizen, Jeffrey Epstein? And what was the original coroner's original opinion? It was murder. And Barr has to step in and change it for everybody? Yeah, the Attorney General, #1 criminal in the country, the highest on the top of the organized food chain. Look at the guy you have now. Fingers you Latin mass goers as the white supremacist, most evil, most dangerous critter in the country, in the planet. Oh, and you parents, how dare you go against the state and the state's ownership and control of our children? They're not yours, they're ours. Takes a village, remember, it takes a village to pillage. The Greeks had another philosophy. If your parents saw fit to put you to death, they had license to do it. Since they brought you into the world, they could take you out of the world. And if somebody determined that you weren't a good person, they would go to your parents and require them to kill your ass. Talk about capital punishment when your own parents are inflicting it. Whoa, you've really done something wrong when your own parents want to kill you. Of course, that's what my mom said to me all the time. She was going to kill me. No, her thinking was not that good. It wasn't that straight ahead. And my sister was very angry about that. The crazy thing was that my sister ran the family and had all the power. She ran it more than my mother did. My father empowered that little bitch. I'm sorry, but that's what she was. That's what she is. She wanted me dead when we were children. She still wants me dead to this day. She's not changed one bit, one iota. She's still wicked and ugly. And if she had the chance to beat on me again and scream and to get my parents to come join her beating on me, she'd do it. It's in her nature. Very manipulative. Sociopathic even. Noticed I used the adjective form rather than the noun form. You don't need to know about me and my foibles. You got enough of your own problems. You got enough problems with the people around you. I do think that the adage, don't accept free stuff, would be a good one for the country. It would be right and proper to recognize somebody's value and their labor, recognize the value and the product they produce, and to insist that you pay for it and that you pay them properly. It doesn't have to be an outlandish price, but you've got to give them something, you know. I mean, I suppose I could sit here and I could commercialize the channel. Yeah, okay, I could get some money in that way. I could ask you, especially on Awakening Israel, I could ask you to donate to the cause, support me, patronize me, you know, set up some newsletter, some email letter, or I wouldn't mind designing a hat or something. At least then I'm giving you something of value, and I have the opportunity to give you something of perhaps greater value than what you give me. I mean, that's kind of why I like selling these Bibles. I like representing them because I don't get much money off it, but I get something off it. I'm not selling very many of them. I'm not doing very well with it. I admit that. The Bible's not very popular. It's not considered a necessity. Thing is that your life is going to be crumbling down so badly that you're going to wish everybody had one and everybody was reading one and everybody would start minding themselves. You're going to wish that people were not sinning against you so much, not so eager to steal from you, to rob from you. And, of course, most of you dumbasses out there are thinking, well, the government's going to rob Peter to pay me. You know, they're going to rob the other son of a bitch. They're going to take money away from the rich and wealthy bastards, and they're going to give it to me. Yeah. You're getting conned. You're getting suckered. You know, it makes me feel good when I give full value. It does. It makes me feel like I've earned it. I actually own it. I paid for it. I've given proper compensation. I didn't screw somebody over. But today it's a country of you got to screw the other guy over before he screws you over. You can't think of all parties winning. My God, a fellow wanted to trade me for a shotgun that I had, and I didn't think that I mean, he was going to do it, and I'll be darned if he did it. He did it. He liked the shotgun that much, and I mean, I had a lot put into that thing. I had built it up, and it just wasn't working for me very well. Too much recoil. Anyway, he loved it, and I got some guns that I didn't think were all that suitable for me, but one alone was worth what the shotgun was worth. And the other one was extra, and I rather liked having the old Smith revolver. And there's nothing like an old Smith & Wesson revolver. They're so much better than the new ones, even out of the pro shop, because I'll buy those guns, and my neighbor showed me the one he bought used over in the store. And it was the vintage gun. It was the first year they made the stainless steel 3-inch 357, and I mean, it was so much nicer than what I spent more money on. And I bought a good revolver, but his was it was a good buy. It was a good find. I liked it. I mean, but I like mine. It fits my hand better. And would I trade him? No, I don't think I would. You know, he found what he loves, and he likes it, and I'm like, and he carries it, and that's important. And he's older than I am, and so, and you know, and the thing is, he does what I do as well. It's basically cross draw, because we're older, we're slower, and you know, it's not something that we carry because we're happy about things and we're looking forward to using the son of a bitch. Come on, give me an excuse to draw my gun. Hell no. It's the last thing I want to do. But it's, you know, as one of my buddies says, it's a get off me, you son of a bitch gun. You know, it's like if he's down there fighting for his life and the guy won't get off him, he's gonna have to do him. Of course, when you get up to our ages, it's like it's kind of a death or death situation. I mean, even if we defend ourselves, it might take all of our life energies to be able to pull it off. So maybe they don't kill us on the spot. Maybe it takes it next year, maybe a few months, maybe a few days. The sad thing is that we have to defend ourselves now against these youngsters, these folks with much better reflexes, faster thinking. They can hear better, they can see better, they can detect danger far better than we can. That's the worst part about it. And of course, they can sneak up on us and go after us. And a lot of you out there say, well, you don't need them. You just call 911. Yeah. This society is going to deteriorate so fast. The police are going to become irrelevant. I've been begging you, become part of the militia. Form the militias again. The first thing about a militia isn't so much that you've got protection. It isn't so much that you can go after the bad guys. It's that it makes you want to be a good guy. The motivator is, I want to be a member of the militia. I want to be in good standing with my militia. So, I'm going to be respectful of my other militia members. And if they need help, I'm going to toss in with them. I'm going to help them out. And I'll cover their back there. I've got brothers to cover my back. The guys will protect me. We don't have that anymore, so we have to have professional police. And I watched the police handling some of these dumb people on the videos. I watched this couple. They were both blown away. It was daytime. They were so out of their minds that, the police handled them with kid gloves. And if they weren't so blown away, it would have been almost funny. If they weren't in so much trouble. The guy, we saw him on video trying to drive his car while he was drunk. And then claiming he wasn't driving it. And his wife gets out of the car, buttoning her pants up. And she says he wasn't driving. He says he wasn't driving. Okay. Car was driving. Oh, it must have been one of those new cars, right? Drives itself. No, somebody was driving. I don't understand what the heck was going on. And they didn't have any inkling of being embarrassed at all. It was that bad that they were like children. They were so blown away. Did you realize that most of the connections in the brain, most of the connections in the cortex aren't excitatory, but inhibitory? In other words, they clamp them down. They put a dampen on you. They control your behavior. Most of your connections are to control your behavior. And of course, if you get a little bit of damage up here, you can't inhibit your behavior very well. And so we could say that the demons come out, the spirits come out. That's why they call it spirits with alcohol. I think that might be how we got that term applied to alcohol. But the fact is that you work hard learning and growing, and you may not think it just because you're living it. But it's true that your personality is crafted over time, as well as your character. Those are built. Those are made. And of course, things can go haywire very easy. Family can treat you differently. You can get indulged in a certain way and become very self-centered and harm other people. It's very easy, especially a single child. And you can also suffer a little infarct, a little tiny piece go haywire up there. And you lose the ability to keep yourself civil, to keep yourself orderly, to control yourself. That wonderful, magnificent personality that people know you as you and respect you can go away. One of the nicest things about the natives in Alaska is that they know the power of alcohol. And they recognize that when a man is drunk, he's not himself. And so they will always go to trial, become a member of the jury, and if they find out the guy was drunk, that he wasn't himself, he's not guilty. He didn't do that. Well, there can be problems. There's problems with that, of course, because the guy will go off and do the crime again and claim he was drunk. Thereby, he's not guilty. Natives do that for each other all the time. They have that innocent, childlike approach to life that those of us others don't have it. So all it takes is a little damage to your brain and you become something else. Phineas Gage was a famous case about 1860. He was working on the railroad. He was tamping explosives, a tamper. He was tamping a crowbar, tamping with a crowbar or tamping the crowbar, the charge into the rock. And it blew. Fired that crowbar right up through his face, right up through his head. Went in about the cheek and come out about the top of his head, severing the frontal lobe from the rest of the brain. Just blew right through him. Didn't kill him. And he became a scoundrel. He lacked control of himself. Everybody knew the damage. It was obvious. They knew how it had occurred. And so they tolerated his behavior to a certain extent. It was a license, if you will, because his frontal lobes, all those rich, those are executive functions, inhibitory functions. All that stuff was gone. He didn't have it. And so when your personality is forming, you're developing these rich connections, this incredible network of neural fibers and neurotransmitters, just incredibly rich. If you will, it looks like a tree in there. You have all of those little dendrils, little neurons that go all over the place. And it's rich with those. It looks like there's a lot of limbs on the trees, a lot of leaves on the trees. There's a lot of richness there, a lot of connections. And we call them major tranquilizers. Neuroleptics. Neuro meaning preening, leptics meaning hair. So a neuroleptic will preen the little hairs on the neuron in the brain. And when a neuron has been exposed to major tranquilizers, which they call antipsychotics, and that's not what they are just downgraders, downregulators. They just destroy the connections in the brain. When those things are preened of all of those rich connections, it looks like a frickin' sewer pipe. Just one big long nerve without all those little hairs going off of it. They've all been preened. So that's a major tranquilizer. That's a downregulator. That's your antipsychotic. And it reduces brain mass, shrinks the brain. Oh, he's a head shrinker. Wow. Isn't it incredible that psychiatrists really are head shrinkers? There's other things that cause the cortex to shrink as well. Aging does it to a certain extent. Tinnitus is a recent discovery as causing cortical shrinkage as well. Getting sick, having fevers. What's that called? Oh my God, having those seizures. Some of those are absence of, grand mal, where you actually go into a kind of a dance. And some of those, I don't remember the name of the seizures that cause the dances, but they're there. I mean, that's part of what we can suffer from. Then you've got the seizures that just take over you and waste your body. I mean, just afterwards, nothing anybody wants but to be left alone and be allowed to sleep. Yet we got to keep them up and torture them a little bit more after they've been through that. I'll never forget the first time I saw a grand mal seizure. Oh my God. Scared the crap out of me. And everybody had to attend to him and get him up and get him to the hospital. He just wanted to sleep and recover. Poor guy. And I've seen many petit mal or absence mal seizures where people just sort of stop for a second, space out, and they stop moving and acting and being alive, if you will, and then after a few seconds or minutes, then they come back to life. There's a lot more of that around than what people realize because they don't catch them as well. You don't have the obviously laying down on the ground and thrashing about. And people with seizures is a bad sign because they generally get worse, not better. You get a dog with seizures, it's over for a dog rather quickly. It just destroys the brain, the cortex, rather rapidly. And it's a sad thing to see in a dog. You get a seizure in a dog, there's not that much brain there to be seizing to begin with, so it happens real fast with a dog. I would have to say if we had to rate America in terms of on the seizure scale, it would be the absence seizure, but on a grand scale, because we're definitely asleep. We're not responsive, reflexive. We're not very much alive. They've got us by the short hairs. They've got total control over this country. As you can see, they can murder a man in prison in broad daylight, and they can cover the whole thing up. And they can also fail to release his black book, his client list, his records, thereby protecting the rich, famous, and powerful that were his friends, victims. Man was a blackmailer. And his buddy is still alive for good reason, because she's done something to get herself protected. And she chose for her headquarters New Hampshire, because New Hampshire is, I am bought off. The whole government state apparatus in New Hampshire, it appears, is bought off. What a weird state. They have no income tax, but yet they'll tax dividends and interest and earnings and stuff like that. I mean, there's an income tax in New Hampshire. That's all there is to it. Lying politicians, lying, thieving politicians. And then on top of it, the property taxes are outrageously high, all to worship that God of education. That's the almighty God. We have to educate the children. Why should I pay for that communist indoctrination they try to foist off on the rest of us as an education? Why should I pay for that character-destroying institution called the public school? And then if I want to register a motorhome in the state of New Hampshire, do you realize that one of those buses, those motorhomes, is $10,000 a year, every year? Why? So they can educate the children. It's what I call robbery. It's organized crime. I don't think that you should be held responsible for your neighbor's child's education. There's no right to a free education. They don't have a right to rob you of your substance in order to supposedly educate the children. By the way, you do realize that childhood is a recent concept. Back in Roman times, we didn't really have much of a concept of a child. I mean, you were held to standards. You were held to your contracts at much younger ages than what we do it in our society. You had to live properly back then, a little bit more so. Today, we indulge these kids. They can sell drugs. They can kill people. They can get away with it. And now they want to make it legal so that anybody under 25 doesn't have the death penalty because the frontal lobes aren't fully developed. Maybe they should think about the victims more than they think about the criminals. Coddling the criminals. Well, that is their cash cow. They get to milk us for more money to take care of them. You know, if you had a biblical law, if that was your tradition whereby people were put to death for their crimes, their sins, you wouldn't need as many prisons by a long shot. And you would have a lot less crime because people would be more worried about the price that they might have to pay because of it. But heaven forbid that we go to capital punishment in a lot of these crimes, because a lot of women lie about the men. The pound Me Too movement. Me Too. With the hashtag sign, pound Me Too. Yeah. Yeah, they lie. I mean, look at how they lie before the Congress. And I think Blasey Ford had some sort of immunity as a residual because her father was some sort of a diplomat or something. She had some weird twisted immunity so they couldn't charge her. It was obvious to the country she was lying. Why was she not charged? They should have charged her. They really should have. They should have made a public spectacle of her. Even if they couldn't consecrate her, they should have declared it. They should have embarrassed her from one end of the nation to the other end. What a liar. And Anita Hill, another liar. My God, I hope she can't live a normal life somewhere. Same with Blasey Ford or whatever the hell her name was. And remember, women do get away with murder. She'd never do that. She'll never hurt you. She's a girl. She can't hurt you. How many ways did that Josie Arias, whatever her name was, in Arizona, kill Travis, whatever his name was? I think she killed him 3 different ways. I think he died over a long period of time. I think he suffered for days. I think she killed him 3 different ways, and at the end almost severed his head off of him. She got away with murder. She's still alive. And at one time she was demanding that she be punished with capital punishment, that she be killed. She had the audacity to toss that up there. Kind of an interesting girl. I think she should be a poster child. It would make men think twice before they go after cute, petite-looking things like that can kill you. But she'll never hurt you. She's a girl. She can't hurt you. How many ways did she kill Travis? It was at least 3 different ways. She really wanted to kill him. It's all screwed up. That central government in Washington, D.C. was designed to rule only over the 10 square miles of Washington, D.C. And they have clearly exceeded that. They've got the rest of us screwed up. And they do it by creating money out of thin air and buying people off, paying people off. They put the country on the dole. Now they brought up all these illegals, these illegal aliens, these invaders, and they're paying them better than our own people. No wonder they love us and love America so much. They get more than a free ride. They are treated like royalty. Cash cows for the Democrats. This society is liable to come apart. When it does, I'm not going to be doing anything except heading for the hills. I'm going to go hold myself up. I'm going to live on the cheap. I'll fast. Whatever I have to do, I will do, because I don't want to be hanging around the majority of the people. They're going to be going crazy. There's going to be a lot of killing going on, and a lot of it's going to be justifiable. We have allowed justice to be miscarried so much. We've allowed so much in terms of damages to occur that we become the people of the lie. We have it coming. It is going to devolve. It is going to become chaotic. Could be this summer. I really hope not. But how do we get our government back? How do we get our nation back? Well, we had a revolution. It was not a rebellion. Stupid people out there point at that French Revolution, which was a rebellion with blood in the streets and all kinds of stuff that was pretty nasty going on. And they want us to do that to each other. I don't think we have to do that. I think as far as Washington, D.C. goes, it's not worth your time to go demonstrate, go plead with those people. I think we just wall off Washington, D.C. We make it into a giant open-air prison camp. Nobody goes in. Nobody gets out. We don't give them any food. They can grow it themselves. They can eat each other for all I care. I'm tired of them. I'm fed up with them. They've exceeded their authority so many times. They've waged war against the planet more times than what we will ever know. There have been more military incursions across this planet by the United States of America since World War II than what you would ever believe. You wouldn't believe it. If you found out that we didn't do that, that would have been reported on the news. We never did that. The Congress would have debated that first. No, they do everything off the books they can. They manipulate the hell out of things. Why do you think most of the economy is black market, off the books? Why do you think that the CIA picked up that nasty habit from the French of running heroin around? You've been told all along what this government's been doing. You've known all along what they do, yet you let them get away with it. Why is Bill Barr, still a free man? As far as I'm concerned, accessory after the fact of murder is a felony. Should he not be in prison, in the penitentiary? Yes, he should. What about James Comey, head of the FBI, who used that power against a sitting president, against the will of the people, helped destroy this nation? Should he not be in the penitentiary? Some of these people ought to be, you know what, things I can't say. It would be considered bad manners, a violation of community standards because you want to hang criminals. Wow. Well, keep celebrating them. Keep signing their books, buying their books, getting their books signed for you. Keep worshiping them, because, oh my God, well, he's a Democrat. He can't do anything wrong. It never hurt anybody. I'm fed up with it all. And you people are busy worshiping Donald John Trump. I'm sorry. It's a man. You don't worship a man. But you think he's going to save you, and he's telling you he's going to save you. Look, he didn't put America first. He stole the Golan Heights from a nation of Syria and gave it to Israel. And they named it the Trump Heights after him. What gave the President of the United States of America the authority to steal land from another nation and give it to another nation? And he did that with Israel. So he put Israel first above America. And you want to put DeSantis in there, and he's doing his best to make it illegal to disparage the Holocaust, or the holo hoax, as some of us want to call it. We're not allowed to discuss it. It's not up for debate. Let's talk about the Holocaust for a change. Do you realize how many more people were killed in the last century? Holocausted for sure. The Ukrainians have been through it before. Twice before they were genocided. Not once, but twice. And people in this nation, in America, helped do that. We let them do that from here. What about the Holocaust that happened in Russia? The Bolshevik Revolution, which we let them launch from here again. And how many millions did Stalin kill? How many million people? 66 million acknowledged? Probably more like 100 million. And Mao Zedong, who was going to be defeated by Chiang Kai-shek. But our State Department, stopped it. Oh, we couldn't have him going in and destroying the communists, taking his land back, taking his nation back. We couldn't have him doing that. We had to stop him. And then Patton was ordered to go in a certain line, a certain direction. And he was a smart man. He realized that the way they are doing this, most of these other countries are going to land in the hand of the enemy. They're going to land in the hands of the socialist, USSR. I don't want to say Russia, but they were going to end up behind the Iron Curtain, and they did. That was done at the highest levels. Your president, General Marshall, he was ordering that stuff too. All of those guys were setting up the Iron Curtain. They were setting up communism for us, set up by the highest people in highest offices in our nation. You talk about foreign entanglements. And George Washington's advice. Now, George Washington made some mistakes. He certainly wasn't perfect. But he certainly had it right about foreign entanglements. And we do that now. Oh, we've got to go in there and save those people. Save them from whom? Themselves? Choose sides. Why? Oh, and we interfered We got Bolsonaro, or whatever his name is, out of Brazil. We got him unelected. Our CIA went down and did that to them. And our CIA has been running communists forever in different countries. They've done that down in Ecuador. They put a communist in power. They put a communist in power in Chile who brought in incompatibles, huge number of incompatibles. They got this communist woman down there, and she brought in incompatibles that had a hell of a crime wave down there. They turned it into a shithole rather quickly. Folks, we do so much in the name of justice and fairness, and we're hoodwinked time after time, and the propaganda is allowed to flow. My God, it rolls down the streets just like it was gold, just like it was money or beer, which is just suitable for this public to get drunk on its own glory, thinking that we're the greatest, we're free, nobody can touch us. Look at the state of the nation today. Look at your highway system. Look at your bridges. Look at your infrastructure. I mean, a lot of those bridges across the Mississippi aren't safe to go on anymore. It's just a matter of time before they go down. And the Golden Bridge, that wonderful marvel that they did in San Francisco that required constant painting, they stopped painting it. It's going to deteriorate too. Democrats did that. And then you have these judges ordering that the water flow freely out to the sea. It's got to flow freely because there's a little tiny sucker fish. It's spotted compared to its brothers and sisters that got stripes on it or something. They created new species, invented new species, purposely to destroy things. It's going to get really weird in Arizona when it comes to water. California is going to continue to waste water. You can't stop that. It's a communist nation at this point. It should be excommunicated fully. The hell with keeping them part of the union. Just kick their asses out. Mexico wants it anyway, and they've taken it over. They've run the numbers on us. They've invaded California. Have you seen the picture of the academy, the police officers in the academy? There's as many women as there are men, but I'll tell you this, you won't see a black among them. You won't see a white among them. You won't see an Asiatic among them. But you will see nothing but Hispanics. And I think that even though they're here in the country illegally, they're allowed to be police recruits. Come on, folks. And you're expecting they're going to enforce the laws in a proper manner, in an even-handed manner? I don't think so. You can expect that they're going to be getting paid off, just like they were used to the payoff down in Mexico. They're going to continue that tradition up here. And I'm really kind of afraid at this point, when the politicians of this nation start speaking about doing what I've advocated for a while, it scares me. I scare myself. It's like my idea was years ago, let's go in with the special forces and get rid of the narco-terrorists. Of course, that means taking some of our own CIA out since they run the narco stuff down there too. But it looks like the Sinaloan cartel is eating our lunch. They control Washington, D.C. El Chapo said that he would reveal the truth about our politicians if we did much more harm to them. I think we should have required him to sing. But Washington, D.C. couldn't have that. That would have been a hostile work environment for them. It would be akin to putting the Ten Commandments outside on the walls of a court of justice in the country. It would be a hostile work environment for the attorneys if they had to look at that all the time. Folks, it's corrupt. Can you save it? No. Can I save it? No. The only thing we can do is control ourselves, hopefully, and maybe make our little part of the world a little bit brighter than the next part of it. Maybe we can do a better job, but I don't know. What do you think? We've gone long enough this morning. I got to stop with this. This is Giving Psychology Away 145. Thanks for hanging out with me. The link is down below. Get one of my Bibles. Learn those stories in the Bible so that the people can't lie to you about what's in the Bible. Learn the truths that are in the Bible so that you'll be able to recognize the good guys from the bad guys. You'll be able to establish yourself too. You'll have a foundation. You need that foundation. May Yahweh bless and make America good again.